Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. It has been several months since COVID-19 has devastated and challenged the world. In Canada, we have experienced close to 80,000 cases and nearly 6,000 deaths. In our province of British Columbia alone, there have been over 2,000 cases and over 140 deaths. The pandemic has also devastated our economy by forcing Canadians to remain at home, unable to work and provide for themselves or their families. Now, many Canadians are suffering and have reached out asking for assistance in any way possible. Frontline essential service workers have bravely answered this call by continuing to work outside of their safety quarantine. They are the ones assisting our most vulnerable populations, particularly our seniors in assisted living facilities. I thank them for their service and have spent great effort to similarly provide for our community. As Canada works towards reopening and reestablishing itself for economic recovery, Canada's top doctor and government has finally said that the use of non-medical masks can help stop the spread of COVID-19. And as we restart Canada's education, commercial, industrial, service, and many other communities, we can anticipate higher demand and a continuing need for personal protective equipment, PPE. Today, I'm proud to announce that through partnership with a group of Hong Kongers, my office has received a generous donation of PPE for the community use. The donors are expatriates or have close ties to Canada. They share a deep concern for Canada and its well-being. These Hong Kongers kindly sourced, purchased, and shipped this equipment to Canada, all at their own expense. The donated PPE will be provided free of charge to community organizations, providing care to those in need across this country. Here in BC, my office has solicited requests for the equipment and is working to see it distributed to those benevolent organizations throughout the Lower Mainland. We are in the process of sorting over 50 boxes of assorted PPEs, which includes over 100,000 masks and goggles, some of which are medical grade. The PPE will not only assist our community of Richmond. Through cooperation with my MP colleagues, it will aid organizations in Ontario and Quebec as well. These locations were chosen because these provinces have borne the brunt of COVID-19, suffering from nearly 70,000 cases. This is why Richmond and Greater Vancouver will be provided with what they need, but a majority of shipment will be sent to those in other provinces who need it most. As I have said, this equipment has been kindly donated by Hong Kongers to help Canadians as an act of generous charity and human kindness. It will be distributed completely free of charge as per donors' wishes. On behalf of communities across Canada and my colleagues in the House, I would like to extend my most sincere gratitude to Ms. Carmen Kwong and Mr. Simon Lau of Singjai Video Blog and Web Radio for spearheading this project and their fellow donors. I encourage Canadians to continue to seek opportunities to help one another in this trying time. I would also like to thank Air Canada for their assistance in providing timely transportation of this essential equipment across the country. Additionally, I would like to take this time to announce that I have been working to reinstate the Canada-Hong Kong Parliamentary Friendship Group in Ottawa. As the chair of this group, I intended to promote goodwill between Canada and Hong Kong and grow the opportunities to see such benevolent action continue. The group exemplifies its namesake in declaring itself as a friendship group. All parliamentarians from the House of Commons and Senate, no matter their affiliation, are welcome to join and participate together as equals. Thank you for joining me. Jordan, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chiu. We will now hear commentary from MP Peter Kent.
Thank you, Jordan, and thank you very much, Kenny, for spearheading this distribution of this very important personal protective equipment. And good afternoon to those in the media joining us today. I'd just like to say this is a very generous gift at a time when the people of Hong Kong are not only fighting the COVID-19 crisis themselves, but at a time when they're struggling to defend their democratic rights, their human rights. Here in my riding of Thornhill, I'll pass essential PPE items as we receive them onto the York Region Public Health for distribution to a range of facilities which remain in great need of masks and protective equipment. And just let me say, I would like to offer my personal thanks to the Hong Kong Friends of Canada for this wonderful reminder of our historic fraternity, as well as a reinforcement of our mutual goals today, both of defeating the deadly virus and of defending and standing up for human rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kent. We will now hear from MP Gerard Deltel.
So much, Jordan. Hello to everybody from coast to coast. I'm from Quebec City, and I'm very pleased to be part of this great announcement. When Kenny talked to me first about that situation a few weeks ago, I was very enthusiastic because it is what Canada is all about, and it is what friendship is all about, and it is what Hong Kong is all about, especially for Canadians and especially for Canada. So I was very pleased to accept this offer from friends from Hong Kong and for people, business people, community who involve themselves for the goodwill of everybody. We all know and we all recognize that this crisis has no border. This crisis has no language. This crisis has no color of the skin. This is a wide world crisis, and we need wide world support, and that's exactly what it is. Unfortunately, as you know, Quebec is unfortunately the worst place in Canada right now, and especially in Montreal, and especially in elder citizen home. The provincial government will address it, but today we need action. And so this is why this offer by the Hong Konger will be warmly welcome here in Quebec. Alors, quelques mots en français, bien entendu, pour exprimer toute ma gratitude aux gens de Hong Kong qui offrent ainsi leur concours pour venir en aide à tous les Canadiens et à toutes, particulièrement ici au Québec, où on pourra faire une distribution de ces objets-là bien importants ici à Québec, mais également un peu partout à travers la province, là où les besoins sont. Je tiens d'ailleurs à remercier les gens du ministère de la Santé, sous-ministre ici à Québec, qui a été d'un précieux secours pour nous aider à guider nos actions dans cette situation-là. So I want to thank everybody for that. This is a great day for Canada, great day for Hong Kong.
Thank you, Mr. Deltel. We will now hear commentary from MP Michael Chong.
Thank you, Jordan. First off, I'd like to thank the Hong Kong Friends of Canada group for their generous donation of this personal protective equipment. And also I'd like to thank my colleague, MP Kenny Chiu, for organizing all of this with the Friends of Canada, as well as with my colleagues, Peter Kent and Gerard Deltel. The ties that bind Hong Kong and Canada are broad and deep. Going back several hundred years, the two jurisdictions have been closely tied together. Many hundreds of thousands of Canadians can trace their roots back to Hong Kong. The first immigrants from Hong Kong came to Canada over 150 years ago, many of them through the port of Hong Kong to help build the railway out in Western Canada. And more recently, some 80 years ago, Canadian soldiers defended Hong Kongers against a pretty vicious attack. In fact, je vais dire quelques mots en français pour mon collègue Gérard. il y a des soldats canadiens qui ont venu de Winnipeg et de la ville de Quebec. The soldiers that defended Hong Kong, some 2,000 of them, during the early days of World War II, the Second World War, were from Winnipeg and from Quebec City. And they bravely defended Hong Kongers during the first land combat engagement of Canadians during the Second World War. It was one of the highest casualty rates that Canadians experienced during that war. Some 50% of the 2,000 soldiers were casualties during that battle, and the aftermath of that battle, the ones who were still alive were taken prisoner of war and were kept in horrific conditions. Many of those soldiers are buried in Saiwan Cemetery on Hong Kong Island. And so the ties that bind us go way back, but they also come more recently. And I think the Hong Kong Friends of Canada have strengthened those ties by this very generous and thoughtful donation during our time of need. So once again, thank you very much for your altruism. Thank you, MP Kenny Chiu, for helping to organize this. And I am certain that this, along with the Friendship Group, will be the start of continued strengthening of relations between Hong Kongers and Canadians. Thank you, Jordan.